There are almost 8 billion people living in the world. 113 million of those resides in the Philippines. The world will be amazing if we could instill all of our advocacies to all of these people and have a better place to live in. How do we accomplish that? It will all rely on how we carry out our communication programs in order to fully mobilize and capacitate ourselves and our stakeholders towards development.
Good day everyone, I am Janice Belen, and my topic is under the Module 6 entitled Key Steps to Building Partnerships. Before we start the presentation, it will be appreciated if we mute our phones, focus, and listen well. Please turn on the captions or download the PDF format of this report if you have difficulties listening. Thank you. In this report, we are going to tackle the key steps of building partnerships, and when we say key steps, this involves various preparations, critical and necessary steps in order to make a successful partnership. This starts with situation analysis, identification of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, definition of goals and roles, discussion and addressing of concerns, obtaining consensus, implementation of agreed activities, and after all of this, we should continue by sustaining dialogue with the partners, evaluating progress, and documentation of lessons learned and experiences in order to complete a successful project. Now, this may all seem to be a bit of an information overload, but before we proceed with the rest of the report, I want you to think and write down your own interpretation of partnership based on your readings, personal and professional collaborations with an individual or a team. Now, in every partnership or a group collaboration for projects that I have done before, these are the words I always leave to my audience or teammates. As Henry Ford stated, coming together is a beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success. In every environmental project we have prepared and conducted before, and until now, we make sure that we let the partners know, feel, and understand where we are coming from, for whom and what this project is all about, and how will this benefit or become a threat in their lives if they do not abide or participate in this program. But the point of their understanding must come from their own. In short, they should feel included or needed in this project. Make them understand that they are not just the audience, but the main actors as well. Because in order to protect the environment we live in, we all need to do our part, and that all of our efforts will go in vain if we do not understand the importance and purpose of our initiatives and activities. Step is to undertake a situation analysis of the program, identify gaps or requirements that need to be filled, and list all potential partners who can contribute in these areas to fulfill the program goals, or all in all, we could call this process as identification of community needs. In order to do this efficiently, we can rely with the handbook Steps and Methods to Mobilize the Community. Written there are 5 methods that are most commonly used for community development, which are the basic conversation or evaluation method, the workshop method, community action planning, stakeholder analysis or Venn diagram, and mapping. With these methods, people can be consequently involved in the decision-making and implementation of activities. On the first method, the basic conversation or evaluation method, or the principles of group discussions and exchange of knowledge. We introduce a number of guidelines on how to prepare a successful group discussion, in which people feel free to share their views, feelings, insights, and to use this on a positive way in combining and exchange this with other people. This method is very useful for assessing problems and needs, participatory monitoring and evaluation, group discussions, resolving difficult issues and conflicts, and leading effective meetings. You have to know and take it to heart what your objective is when doing this method, because the way to conduct sufficient and effective information gathering is to ask specific questions that lead or is deeply connected to your objectives. For example, in the previous project where we aim to convince people to not kill endemic and endangered species and promote biodiversity conservation to fisher folks and farmers, we asked them what do they feel if these animals were part of their family. We asked them to describe how these captured animals feel just by looking at their eyes. We were moved by their answers and somehow led them to open up their current situations, that even though they do not want to hurt or kill those endemic species, but there were still unavoidable situations for them. But those experiences somehow led us to fruitful discussions on what their specific problems are, how they intend to solve it, and how we can contribute our ways in solving it. Second method is the workshop method. With this method, we introduce a number of skills and knowledge which will combine the different insights in a group towards effective cooperation. The participants will practice with a 5-step workshop model that will work through brainstorming, organizing to a consensus-based decision-making. This method is very useful for assessing problems and needs, identifying solutions and projects, formulating project tasks and responsibilities. The method is very helpful for managing and running projects and enthusiasing people. Highlight the focus question. For example, what are the ways to become a zero-waste community? Explain to the participants or the purpose, our objective and product of the workshop or the whole workshop process. You can have warm-up questions from a recently concluded activity during the workshop. Questions will be, what have you learned about the importance of zero-waste community from the recently concluded activity? Then you repeat the focus question, such as, can somebody cite an example of how can we protect our biodiversity? Twice, to further give emphasis on the subject matter at hand. Proceed with an individual brainstorm and from the agreements, highlight the 5 most important ones. Organize the submitted thoughts and concepts by asking questions such as, what are the 2 most effective ideas? What are the similar or questions or the answers with the same intention? What is the most difficult idea? Are there cards which are different? Read the focus question. After then, the evaluation questions will be, which outcome is the nicest? Which one is the most difficult to realize? What is the most important thing to work on? What will be our next step? The third method is the community action planning. It is a planning process where a group develops a plan on a participatory way which has the support of everybody in the group and where people commit themselves towards implementing activities. The planning process is both elements of midterm and operational planning in itself. The process is dynamic, participative, flexible, realistic, and considers the different thinking stages of people in the decision-making process. The participative planning process consists of 5 steps. This method is very useful and powerful for planning any kind of project. It energizes and enthusiasms people in a very short amount of time. It provides a basis for regular follow-up, meetings, monitorings, and evaluation. The 5 steps are victory, what are our perspectives and wishes for the future. The SWOT or strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. What are the strengths in the group? What are our weaknesses? What are our opportunities? What are the threats and dangers that can hinder our project? What are the project goals we would like to achieve through the commitment and goals? What are the elements needed and what are the conditions to fulfill this project? During this phase, the group is looking for a consensus. The strategic directions and key activities. Which strategies and key activities do we have to implement? Which will help us accomplish our visions and will help us to remove the contradictions? And in the implementation, how, when, what are we going to do, and what time to accomplish the goals? If the participants have already made an objective and decided on what their project is about, check the following and create a flip chart in order to proceed with the action planning. These are by answering the questions: who will implement the project? How will the people in the group name themselves? What will be implemented? When will it be implemented and completed? What is the reason why it will be implemented? What is the objective? Who will finance or provide the contributions? And how much will be contributed? Where will the final celebration or opening of the project or completion date of the project take place? Fourth method is the stakeholder analysis or Venn diagram. This is a tool which describes the relations between different institutions, organizations, or key people who are involved with the project or problem. Through this diagram, the key stakeholders are visualized and related to each other on importance and frequency of contact. This method is very useful for identifying stakeholders for a project. It also provides deeper insight on who should be involved and not be involved in a project. The organized question is, what is the frequency of contact you have with these institutions? The institutions you are most dealing with, or participating with, or are most in contact with, you put the closest to you. If the contact